is hyperfunctioning or hypofunctioning.
Let's jump to that real quick since we're already there. Thermography is, I think, phenomenal. And Tom, what's really amazing about you is you've actually worked and studied with one of the most expert thermographers and doctors in Belgium, right?
Yes, correct.
Who had been doing it the longest. So you come with like an array of like extensive knowledge and application on how to interpret, which is not easy.
Right.
Okay,
it's not easy to interpret.
Right.
That's true.
So my suggestion for my women is that they come to you, especially my women, or people who are concerned about cancer or cellular changes, lowered immunity, lymph congestion, and do the thermography instead of mammograms. Right? Because it's non-invasive and because it's a very good tool to assess clearly what's right and what's wrong.
Correct.
And then you can also help them by giving them the spagyrics, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
But it wasn't until I started working with Darren that I really could appreciate the patterns, because when I would see a pattern, for example, of a low thyroid, I would see that pattern and I would think, well, we need to do something about the thyroid. And then I would look at the person and they would have no clinical signs. They would have no issues in the blood. There would be no signs of it. And then Darren would say, well, that was because she was experiencing emotions of being lost. And they're like, oh. And then once I could then superimpose the emotional, spiritual component over that, and realizing that because I'm getting weakness doesn't necessarily mean that that organ needs to be biochemically fixed, that it may need an emotional component or a spiritual component. Once I superimposed that, then the picture just went, it was like it suddenly became crystal clear. Whereas before it was somewhat clear, but in superimposing that, it just boom. So, and then the crossover between the neuromuscular reflex and the thermography is very interesting, because some people, I mean, when the muscle goes weak on the reflex, it's just there. But for some people, they need to then go into the back of the room and see, oh, okay, this machine is also telling me that this area of my body is weak. And it's validation for some people. As far as the mammograms are concerned, I didn't buy it for that reason. I mean, I am honored and privileged to offer an alternative to mammograms for women. Really, the problem...
Why not mammograms, in your opinion?
In my opinion, there is no gold standard. If mammograms were 100% accurate, I would form a line and take every woman down there. They're not. They're about 65% accurate using their statistics.
Wow, that's low.
The thermogram is a little bit more than that, but not much, somewhere in the neighborhood of 70% accurate. So still not the gold standard. But the difference is that, again, using their statistics, these aren't my statistics, 1 to 2% of the population has a genetic predisposition to a sensitivity to the radiation, where the compression and the radiation itself actually causes degenerative changes. So by those numbers, they estimate that 180,000 breast cancer cases per year are caused by mammograms. That's not just in the United States, that's worldwide. But still, those are that's not my research, that's their research.
Which they've been kicking under the carpet pretty well for a few years.
Right. So to me, it's like, you know, statistically, about the same, but mine's not going to hurt you. I'm just measuring temperature.
Well, and then you can also see by the heat patterns and the cooling patterns, you know, if there's different relationships between organs, glands, and systems that would, you know, make the breasts turn up more congested or the lymphatics more.
Or even within the field of thermography itself, digital infrared just sees heat. Well, if you've got heat, then you're going to get a lot of false positives. With you, we had heat, but it was because of lymphatic congestion. Had nothing to do with a degenerative change in the breast. It was lymph stress
from the surgery.
So it doesn't, you know, with the other, even with the other kind of thermography, you get a lot of false positives from that.
Well, I also did a whole lot of research after I had that breast scare a couple years ago. And what I was reading is that, you know, there's enough radiation in just 2 mammograms to induce cellular changes in something like 40% of all women. That's huge. I mean, they're telling women to do them every 6 months, you know, every year.
I think the most horrendous stories are in large-breasted women, what they do to them.
Oh, man.
And how many times they do it, only then to come back and say, you know, we're going to do an ultrasound also.
Just do
which
the
basically
ultrasound.
means we didn't see anything, so we're going to just do the ultrasound.
Do the ultrasound.
Right.
But you know, they have their hierarchy. I went to them and I was like, please just do a fine needle biopsy. I'm not doing the mammogram, and no one would touch me unless I did the mammogram.
Right.
Wish I would have known you.
You know, the beautiful thing that I like about the thermography, since we've been doing it with Tom, is that if there are a certain amount of indicators that show that a woman is predisposed towards potentially developing breast cancer, then at least we can find out the specific areas, and then through the Lifeline technique, target those specific areas, do a follow-up thermography, and see instantaneous changes. You know, so it really keeps people accountable. It keeps ourselves accountable, doing what we need to do, as well as the person empowered and following what they need to do at the same time. So it's really
not a scary experience either.
No, it's very proactive.
Going,
Right.
Sure, and you can make the changes right there. Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me, what is the bottom line cause of every symptom or disease? Is there such a thing?
There really is.
Tell me.
There really is, and I'm going to go out on a limb, and until somebody proves me wrong, the bottom line cause of every symptom and disease is that the body you have internalized some aspect of a thought, feeling, or belief. Some experience in your life which you've just slid underneath the carpet, you know, that you felt was too painful to deal with, has been internalized. And that internalization of that thought or that feeling or belief was the initial stone that led to the imbalance that causes when left, you know, untreated.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's the bottom line.
Absolutely.
And
So you better address it.
Right.
Yeah, so it's all about being authentic and being in the moment and doing that.
See, I just love the way in India the Hindu people, for the most part, raise their little ones. They have no, no's, can't, don't, hurt, nothing until the child is 5 years old.
Oh, I love that.
Total empowerment to this child. They will not give that kid, you know, that negativity, that child, anything negative until they're 5. It's hard on the mom.
Yeah, it's very
because she's
hard.
constantly distracting, you know, without, I mean, it's hard for me watching it. It's like, you know, like that, because we're so ingrained with that.
Right.
So think about those children, how strong they are.
How beautiful.
Yeah, it's very cool. So, all right, what types of problems does the Lifeline treat? Everything.
Everything. And the whole thing about it is, you know, whether a person comes in with allergies or with low back pain or with headaches or fatigue or depression or anxiety or cancer or lupus or diabetes, we treat people. We're treating the person, because the disease is just, or the symptom is just the message that the body is communicating to you to let you know that it's not happy. And so it's not about treating the disease. Treat the person and the life that they're living, empower them with the tools that they can use to then change their life. And then the body doesn't need to express itself in that way any longer.
Doesn't that make perfectly good sense?
It sure does.
Do you work on each other?
Yeah, every week.
Do you?
Every week.
Isn't that wonderful? I know, you look like your pictures of health. Okay, what does infinite love and gratitude have to do with using the Lifeline?
Well, that's really the backbone of Masaru Emoto's work.
Foundation.
And he found that the most beautiful crystalline structures were the ones with infinite love and gratitude. So this sign right here, in sign language, means I love you. I love you. And we have found, using kinesiology, using muscle testing, which is the involuntary reflex, always involuntary reflexes override voluntary ones. And so if you go like that to your eyes, you blink. If you tap your knee, the knee-jerk reflexes, it just moves. When we use what we call the infinite love sequence, where we go infinite love and gratitude next to the body, it will cause a weak muscle that was previously weak, it will cause it to be strong, showing that the automatic nervous system is changing, and that light switch that was off gets turned on. All with infinite love and gratitude. That's what heals the body.
Yes, it is. I know that. I know that, always. Oh, that's so exciting. Okay, tell me about children. How does it help in treating kids?
Well, that's the most beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's just, kids, like, I mean, kids are just programmed to heal. So
they're almost like clean slates.
Right.
Still.
Yeah. And there's no judgment. They sit down and they just like, help me, help me.
Well, what's wonderful is that whether a child is able to do the kinesiological reflex themselves, or that we use surrogate muscle testing where the mother holds the baby between their legs, or the young child between their legs, and she holds up their arm. By creating that electrical conduction between them, we can then assess the child. We are all self-healing organisms, and so with children, they don't have a lot of layers of dysfunction, a lot of internalization, that when you treat them, boom, they respond instantaneously.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I just had a young girl who just came in, 11 years old, and she was having severe dizziness that would not go away, and went to the pediatrician, and the pediatrician said, I don't know why it's going on, we'll call it vertigo, but let's give you prednisone. And the mother's just like called me up, because they've been patients of mine. Yeah, and she's like, well, what do you think? I'm like, no, don't take that, come on in. And we worked on the young girl for 3 days. After the first day, we started getting improvements. After 3 days, 100% gone. By that time, I said, you know, go to a neurologist, because dizziness can be a very serious, you know, indicator for other problems. Went to the neurologist. Neurologist like, there's nothing wrong with this little girl, 100%. You know, there's nothing wrong.
Yay!
So children are so
Isn't
simple,
that
and they're the ones that are going to be the future, and so they need to be, you know, really helped out, and they need to understand it.
We are running out of time, believe it or not. Bioterrain analysis for treating disease or detoxing. What is it?
Basically, the whole objective aspect of the Lifeline is the thermography combined with the bioterrain analysis. And the bioterrain is a way of evaluating the urine, the saliva, and the blood to examine, for example, the mineral content. You know, is the mineral content where it should be? Is it too low and you need to supplement more minerals? Is it too high and there's congestion and the body's retaining the minerals as a defense mechanism to cover up some other problem? Look at pH changes. We look at antioxidant status, fatty acid content. So what we can do is within 10 minutes, we combine the saliva and the urine with the dark field, whereas before, like we talked earlier about the dark field, you get this snapshot. It's that moment in time in the blood, but you really have no idea whether the body is actually healing and it's actually improved in what you're looking at, or if it's getting worse, or if it's stuck there. When you combine that with the terrain analysis, you see the whole picture. You see the blood, you see the quality changes that are happening in the blood, but with the terrain, you see the quantity changes. What minerals need to be supplemented, what fatty acids, or are there too many fatty acids, or whatever it may be. So you get a really good understanding of the biochemistry with the terrain analysis.
Of the person as a whole.
Right.
Taking
so
everything into
the
consideration.
thermography gives me the understanding of where the organs are stressed. And then the terrain analysis gives me the biochemical aspect of that stress.
That's marvelous. Well, God bless you both for all your hard work. Okay, we've got time for one more question. What are spagyrics?
The spagyrics are...
Here they are.
Yes. The spagyrics are very interesting. They are herbal remedies that are prepared in a way that allows you to access the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual components.
Okay, and we're going to have to talk about these more next time, but these are amazing. I've been taking them with amazing success. I missed them for 2 days and like, psh, I felt it. It was like it got ripped away from the breast.
They're powerful.
Yeah, they're great. So thank you, Tom. Thank you, Darren, for being here. It was wonderful having you.
Thanks for having us.
You're amazing. We'll talk again next week. I can't wait to go to the next show. And until next week, please take good care of your health. I'm Deborah Arneson with Healing Quest. And good night. God bless.